Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jean-Thomas Martelly. I'm a researcher in political science here at the Centre de Sciences Humaines, CSH. And on behalf of the center, it is my very great pleasure to welcome you to our 14th already lecture and seminar series of this academic year. The CSH lecture and seminar series are covering a wide range of disciplinary focus, as you all know, focusing on South Asia, ranging from development studies to geography, including political science, sociology, anthropology, modern and contemporary history, as well as economics and a few disciplines that I have probably omitted to mention. Um, Today's presentation could not be more timely, and maybe some will argue even too timely, as we are still coping with the disaster of the second wave of COVID-19, focusing on life and death. But today we are also going to go beyond the emotional toll that we all took here in India regarding this by looking at also the human and economic implication of this crisis for, in particular, for migrant. Today's presenter is Irudaya Rajan, who is chairman of the International Institute of Migration and Development. I will go on providing further details, but before we go further, uh, just a quick notice about the two remaining in talk of the year. We will have two, one on 14th of June, in which we will receive a medical anthropologist Anna Rudok, who will be presenting her forthcoming book at Stanford University Press called Special Treatment. It's anthropology of AIMS and its medical training, and she will be engaging with the burning question of what is lost when medicine is used not as a social equalizer, but as a tool to maintain and cultivate prestige. And then on 28th of June, we will receive Christoph Andreas, who will be presenting his forthcoming book, oh no, recently published book, sorry, called Revolutions in Learning and Education from India, Pathway Towards the Pluriverse. He will be introducing a post-developmental framework in the field of education with the aim to challenge the way education reproduce hierarchical social order. But today we are going to focus on the consequences of COVID-19, and Professor Uday Ranjan will be discussing that at length. Um, in particular, he will be discussing the impact of the return migration to India from the point of view of Gulf countries and other regions. Professor Rudaya Rajan is, as I said, the chairman of the IIMD. Prior to this, he was professor at CDS, and as he mentioned, uh, 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 as he mentioned just a few minutes ago, he has coordinated many migration surveys in Kerala since the late 1990s. Um, and he is, among other things, the editor of two religious series on India migration since 2010, and the South Asia Migration Report since 2017. He's also the founder, editor-in-chief of the journal Migration and Development. Um, so without further waiting, I'll forward the mic to Professor Uday Rajan. And for those who have questions, you can definitely ask that in the chat box if you are too impatient to wait for the end of the talk. And please do not forget to switch off your mic if possible. So Professor Irulay Rajan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Mr. Thomas. And also, I am very grateful for Christoph, for introducing me to this group. And I know Christoph for almost now maybe close to 4 decades because when I was doing my PhD in Mumbai in 82 to 87, I met him. So it is, we are too old now. Both of us are too old now. We known each other for quite some time. And we also worked sometime briefly together. We have published a few papers and, so we know each other. When he wrote to me saying that he's back in Delhi and he wanted that I can give you a seminar, I didn't even think anything. I said immediately yes. So because one of my old friend who also has worked on migration historically, I don't, because anyway, he's a migrant now to India. So, it affects him. So this is something, I have not worked on migration for quite some time. I am working for maybe close to 2 decades with a big survey I have started in Kerala with Professor Sakaria, who is right now 98. I met him day before yesterday just to say hello to him. He's just, he's in good health reasonably, but he's not forgotten anyone. So he remembers everything. So, and that he brought me to the migration studies. So, and so I'll be spending probably, I don't know, 35 minutes on something I want to share with you, what I have learned for the last 2 years, basically on the COVID-19 and return migration. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you some type of a broad understanding of India's immigration. Because if you want to understand the return migration, you have to first understand the India's immigration patterns. Because you want to return, first you have to emigrate, then only you can return. So what is the status of India's migration globally? And then I'll also a little bit talk about the impact on remittances, because how India is globally standing on remittances. Then give you something on return migration, what happened during the wave 1, and also a little bit on wave 2. And then what are the policies government have done, and what is missing, and what they should do. I think these are the way I want to organize my talk for next 20 to 30 minutes. I don't know. I'll see how much it goes. Now, when you talk about India, because if you look at India, because I'm not going to speak today on Kerala much, but I'll be giving some examples. If you talk about India, today, the UN says India has the highest number of immigrants, close to 18 million. This is what the number UN is talking about. 18 million Indians are currently abroad, still holding Indian passports, because we are talking about people still holding Indian passport. We are not talking about diasporas who already become citizens in France, citizens in England, citizens in America. We are not talking about them. Because they can come to India with their OCI card, but we are talking people who are affected during the COVID-19. For that, we are talking about people who are still holding Indian passport. This is the UN estimate is close to 18 million. So this is the number we have globally being talked about. But the Indian government also has put up some statistic, which is published by the Ministry of External Affairs. They were talking something close to 14 million. They are talking about 14 million Indians are currently outside anywhere in the world. In fact, they are talking about 210 countries. But I was comparing 210 countries, COVID also present, and 210 countries, Indians also present. So it's like COVID and migration for Indians are almost same. Wherever COVID is there, you also have some Indians, like they are distributed throughout the world. So according to the MEA, Indians are found in 210 countries. According to the World Meter, COVID also is found in 210 countries. So you can see that Indians are present everywhere. Some country they are too much, some country they are very less. This is the number the Indian government is talking about, 14 million. And they also talk about 18 million people who are people of Indian origin. They are not Indians, but they are called diasporas. They use what is called the overseas card, which they can come to India. I think this is the number they are talking about. But according to me, if I look at it, if the government of India says, out of the 210 countries, 3 countries, they have no Indians. They have listed all the 210 countries, which are the countries they have no Indian, not a single Indian, according to the government of India. Policy, Pakistan, they say Pakistan, there is no Indian, according to the Minister of External Affairs, and San Marino Island. These are the 3 places Indian government say there is no Indians. Maybe it is not true, but they have given some data. And the lowest number of Indians were 9 Indians were found in Niue Island in South Pacific, according to the government. 9 Indians are found in Nauru Island in South Pacific. And the highest number of Indians who are still holding Indian passport, the highest number is, we have 3.2 million people in UAE. And the highest diaspora is in America. So this is the some type of, some 3.1 million people in America holding not Indian passport, diasporas. And 3.5 million people are in the UAE still holding Indian passport. This is the some type of a number being floated around there. This is about the immigrants. But if you look at the immigrant contribution, economic contribution, we are not talking about other contribution, social contribution, or many other contribution. People talk about political contribution, even the vaccination issues. People talk about, the current MEA minister is in US. So people have a lot of other relationship between diaspora and Indian government. I would like to specifically talk about economic impact, which is measured in terms of remittances. The latest estimate what we have is 83 billion rupees came to India last year, even during COVID-19. So 83 billion, and India is number one globally. So India is number one globally on migrants. India is number one globally on remittances. India is only number two in terms of international student migration from India to any part of the world. We are just behind China. Just behind China. That's all. No, not very much. But then probably, I don't know, maybe we will overtake. I have no idea what is the future holds for both countries, but then we are not very far. So we are number two, they are number one. This is on international student migrant, because many of the migrant students, they take the student route and then they become diasporas. So they go as a student to America, then they never come back. They go as a student to UK, they never come back. So the student route is being used as a future migration in many countries where they can get citizenship. So this is the route. And there, India and China are, neck to neck on competition. But COVID-19, please remember, it is not a migration crisis. According to me, it is nothing to do with migration. Basically, it is a health crisis. But we all believe, still we believe, that by closing the border, you are closing the COVID-19 mobility. But we are all wrong, we know right now. Even you close the border, COVID is continued to grow and continue to spread. So you are stopped the people, the mobility, we are all made immobile by what is called through the lockdown, through the crossing border, stopping the flight, stopping the train. So many things we have done thinking COVID will not move. But we know that COVID finally won. We are all lost by our policies. Still we are doing the lockdown as one of the important way to control COVID-19. But the most important people affected by the lockdown and the cross-border immobility is the migrants. I think that is why we are talking about migrants. Please remember, one of the things which I also want to tell you, that COVID-19, the wave one, many of you might have seen the scenes of migrants, because wave one, we were talking between lives and livelihoods. And we were talking more on livelihoods during COVID-19 wave one. But today, I don't think anybody talking about livelihoods. We are talking about lives itself. Lack of oxygen, no hospital beds, no vaccine. So we are not now talking about immobility. No, this wave two, we have controlled. Now that there is no train, no bus, nobody talking about migrant flights in this wave two. We are all worried about, no newspaper writes about migration because it's over. They got their chance in the wave one. Now the chance is for the lives. But in the process, we missed. Many migrants are losing their livelihoods. I think that is something very, very important. And this is something very important. So India is number one in terms of migrants, remittances number one. As I said earlier, it's 83 billion came last year. But then all this number, excluding remittances, is all underestimates. So number given by the UN, number given by the MEA, number given by World Bank on remittances, everything is an estimate. Is basically, I would put an underestimate. Actually, the money coming into India is much more than what the World Bank estimates. And similarly, Indians abroad estimated by the government of India, whatever method they give. I think there is no method they have. They ask the Indian ambassador, they give some numbers. There is not even estimates, I will put, it's guesstimates. At least World Bank produce estimates, UN produce estimate, but Indian government produce only guesstimates. They think so many people are there. So that's like a estimate. I don't trust even, I don't call the Indian number as even estimates, because we know estimates, things like that. We are very clear on that. But according to my estimate, I am talking for last 1.5 years, my estimate, Indians holding Indian passport anywhere in the world should be close to 20 million. It is higher than both the Indian government estimates and also from the UN estimates. I am putting close to 20 million. In fact, it will be much more. But I would like to put only 20 million Indians are anywhere in the world in 200 countries still holding Indian passport, not converted into any other country passport, 20 million. And if you look at that, the broad composition, out of the 20 million, 10 millions are living in just 6 countries, 10 million who are holding Indian passport are living in just 6 countries. Which are the countries? United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait. These 6 countries account for close to 10 million Indians. The remaining 10 million Indians are distributed in 200 countries in the world. Maybe 9 people is somewhere, maybe more people in America and UK, Canada, Australia. They go to English-speaking countries. Of course, nurses are found everywhere, every countries anyway. So if you look at it, 10 million in the 6 countries and remaining 10 million in the other countries. Why I tell 10 millions in the Gulf countries? Why we say that 10 million? For example, we have done a major survey on migration in Kerala with 15,000 households prior to the COVID-19. Our estimate is Kerala itself, Kerala alone, holding close to 2.5 million people in the Gulf. If Kerala alone having 2.5 million people in the Gulf, remaining 35 states and union territories, you have remaining 7.5 million. I think this is some question mark we have to do. And then we did a big survey in Tamil Nadu with 25,000 households. And we have estimated Tamil Nadu has close to 1.2 to 1.5 million in the Gulf. Another people are more in Singapore, Malaysia. So Kerala, everybody goes to Gulf. In Tamil Nadu, not everybody goes to Gulf. Half of them go to Gulf. So according to our estimate, 2 states in India is close to 3.5 to 4 million people are in the Gulf. And that can be seen by very simple transport system. I was talking with Etihad. Etihad flies to 4 cities in Trivandrum, 2 flights every day. Etihad alone, every week they are coming 2 flights every day. And Emirates fly 2 times. Gulf Airways flies 2 times. We can see the busy of the 4 airports in Kerala. So you can imagine, and it's not only true. Now the flight goes to Lucknow, flight goes to Ahmedabad, flight goes to Hyderabad. So many places it's going. So based on that estimate, whatever we have is all not very correct. But I am also putting an estimate for ourselves to say that 10 million people on the Gulf. Now, who are affected by COVID-19? Everybody is affected. But the much impact was in the Gulf countries compared to other countries. I know even from London, people came. There's a direct flight from London to Mumbai. We know that after the Vande Bharat flight, which will come back. But then everywhere they are affected, but mostly affected was in the Gulf countries. Now, let us get one point. Now, today, return migration, what we are talking, it is not something a new phenomena for us. People who are working on migration, they should know migration is a life cycle. You work in the countries of origin, you go back to the countries of destination, then you have to return if the country does not give you a citizenship. So that is the case. Like Gulf countries, people don't get citizenship, they have to come back. If I come to London, probably after 5 years, I may get a PR. Or if I go to America, I may get green card, then I may move to the citizenship. But in Gulf countries, you can't get citizenship. Even you die, the dead bodies will come back to India to be buried. The only exception was that during COVID-19, they buried there. I think COVID-19 did one good thing. They are buried there. Otherwise, they were not allowed to bury there. So COVID-19 is something they did. COVID-19 did very good things. I think these are the good things we should learn from the COVID-19. And also COVID-19, another thing it did very, very good COVID-19 was that COVID-19 never treated anybody special. COVID-19 is, it has no bias. It goes to the Home Minister of India's house. He had COVID positive. It goes to the superstar of the India, Amitabh Bachchan. It goes to the poor people. So it is not bothered about religion, caste, Muslim, Tamilian, nothing, or American. #1 now, highest number of deaths in America. It does not care. I think we can learn something from COVID is that we should treat everyone equal. COVID treated all of us equal. No hospital, no beds, even middle class suffered. We know that. It's not like I know everybody, but there is no bed for you now. You have to die. So I think COVID has given us a moral lesson is to learn from them to be treat everyone equal. We don't treat. We always look at people, look at the color, look at the religion, so many things. We know that happening in every country, it's happening in my country too. So if you look at that, these are the countries where we have a lot of people likely to come back. Now then, please remember, the return migration is the end of your migration life cycle. You go, work, and come back. Even some people come from India to France, you spend few years, then you go back. You go back. Coming back is something, it is normal. So it's nothing to be talked about. Return migration is part of the life. You are born, you have to die. That's it. So we talk about in demography, born, die. You can't escape. You can escape many other things, but born, you have to die. So like that, when you go to some countries, you have to return. So return migration is not something a new phenomenon, because even prior to the COVID-19, according to the Kerala Migration Survey, we had in Kerala 1.5 million people have returned over the last 50 years, because the migration started from Kerala was 1970s. 1970s, they were going with a night port. Like people talk about undocumented migration today, they go across the border. From Kerala, people used to take the night port and they arrive in Dubai. No passport, nothing required. They will use the Indian rupees. This was in 1970. Of course, today you can't go like that. Now that's happening in some of the European countries. People travel. So it is almost 50 years old migration history. So return migration is part of the life. But then India had at least 3 times we had return migration in the little bit abnormal. One was 1991 Gulf War, when Iraq invaded Kuwait, or we had a war, and then we know that we had brought some Indians there. So there was an unexpected trend. This was happened 1990-91, almost close to 30 years back. And similarly, we had an extra return migration, or what you call the abnormal return migration, was second time. It was in 2008 global financial crisis. So this is a little bit abnormal years. So we had Gulf War one time, 30 years back. Second, we had global financial crisis. But then these are all related to few countries, not globally. We called global financial crisis, but then I myself went to study that in 2008, all the Gulf countries. I was in Dubai, it was down. When I moved to Abu Dhabi, they were doing very well. And when I went to Qatar, Qatar was growing at 12% growth rate. Saudi Arabia is doing better than UAE. So it is not global, it is called global financial crisis, but it's only the local crisis in some countries, including UK and US. And then we had Arab Spring. We expected Arab Spring will spread to Gulf countries and we may expect more people, but thank God it failed. So we never get, there was a talk in India, oh my God, Arab Spring is moving. It was not like COVID-19 anyway. There is not even a second wave of Arab Spring. It was there in some places, but then it was not spread so high, not a big thing. People started coming back from the Gulf, it not happened. But then it was happened in 2011, Arab Spring, but 2018, Saudi Arabia created a wave by creating a new migration policy. They call Nidakat. They wanted many companies to reduce the non-national to the national level. That time we had large-scale return migration happened from Saudi Arabia. Kerala received the maximum, and India received the maximum. India received maximum, followed by Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and they are continuing the policy, but it was very strong to promote the national people. Like we talk about son of the soil, what we talk about are the, America first, told by the earlier president. America first means migration, basically. First America, first, then only other countries for jobs. So things like that. So automatically, Saudi Arabia has little bit succeeded in little bit maneuvering the migration, and people came back. That was the small, if you look at the time trend, these are the abnormal years. But then in the history of migration, over the last 50 years from India, 70s, we started with the oil boom. The 50 years of the migration history, this is probably the highest unexpected return migration to India. Highest, I don't think we never imagined even. And the lockdown was announced in March end by the Prime Minister of India. We never thought it is going to have so much impact on return migration. I think we never thought about that. We never thought that people will be standing in the first stand in the railway station in Delhi. We never thought. We thought lockdown means people will sit at home and eat well. But the problem is everybody cannot sit at home because they have to earn money by going out. I think somehow we thought that it's a very simple thing, closing the border, closing the things, but it has affected. And the history of migration, this is the highest return migration. Now the government of India has given some number. And the number the government of India given is, it was given by the Ministry of Home Affairs itself. The Ministry of Home Affairs, because they brought what is called the Vande Bharat flights. There's a special flights where, used to bring people by the government of India. Of course, then everybody started joining that. This is a very massive evacuation. There was no war. There was no war, not like the Gulf War we have seen in 1990. They were evacuated from Kuwait. But this time there was no war. But it is almost like a war situation. COVID-19, because we are fighting something called unknown person. Because COVID, nobody has seen. I don't know anybody has seen COVID. I have not seen COVID. People say don't go out, put the mask, but nobody has seen. They say it goes to lung and other things. I have not seen. That's why I was telling to somebody, COVID has no passport, no visa, but it travels. But I have passport, I have visa, but I can't travel. And they're asking me certificate now, vaccination certificate. So these are all issues we have to look at it. So we are not seeing. That's why there is a war globally on COVID-19, but there is an enemy we could not see. If you know the enemy, we would have bombed them already because we know how to bomb enemies. But the COVID is present everywhere, so we don't know whom to bomb. So we are in a very, but it's like a war situation. Evacuation was coming in, and India carried a massive evacuation in the history of its independence. Massive evacuation, not only within the country, we talk about the internal migration, I'm not talking today, but massive evacuation. And the government of India, official figure says, we received 4.5 million people from 98 countries through Vande Bharat flight. This is official estimate from May to last month. This is the number they given. But this number I trust because everybody came through the flight and everybody was put in the quarantine. So no return migrants can escape the government, the airport. That is something, otherwise we never had any data on return migrants. First time the India having return migrant data, thanks to COVID-19 again. Thanks to COVID-19, otherwise we never collect them. This is the first time, but I was talking with the government of Kerala. I told them, I want 500 numbers. I want to talk to the return migrants who came to the Vande Bharat flight. And the secretary told me, why do you want 500? I can give you 12 lakh numbers. Because we have number of 12 lakh people who came to Kerala. I can give you all numbers. You are a researcher, I can share with you, but don't share with others. It's your personal numbers. Because all of them have been, when they arrive in the airport, their number is there. Of course, some people have given wrong number. I call some number does not exist. People, we normally give some number and go. So I got numbers, I called some people. That's very important for us because we are continuing to do study on return migration. So government of India says 4.5 million. Now 4.5 million of, we have to put the, how many total? We are talking about 20 million, which I talk about globally. We are talking about 95 countries, not just 6 countries. And then, of course, the UN says 18 million. That means 18 million, 5 million people have come back. That means everybody is here. 1 out of 3 is back in India. What will happen in India? So these are the questions we have. So number has to be rechecked again. But 4.5 million is correct because everybody collected, Air India, everybody collected money from them. So they know how many tickets were bought, the ticket was full. So all things we know. There is a reasonably good data on return migrants. But I just want to mention that people who came back, that 4.5 millions are not migrants. This is something I was telling to Kerala government, I was telling to the MEA. They have come back through Vande Bharat flight. Don't tell me they are migrants. That include even undocumented migrants from many countries. I talked to some of them. And some of them came are children, spouses, and other relatives who went to visit them in the Gulf countries. Visit visa. 20% of the people came to Kerala back by Vande Bharat flight and went on visit visa. Like I visit to Mumbai, they visit to Dubai. In the morning you take a flight, have a breakfast in Trivandrum, lunch in Dubai, and come back in the evening for the dinner to Kerala. So people went for visit, then you close the border. They have no visas. So they all came. Why I am telling you? I got the addresses of many people in the flight. I talked to many flight people. Please give me the address who came through every flight. I got some number. got some detail. People were not sharing. They will give me the list there and the passport number. I told them, give me the age, sex, and other thing, but they did not release many people. But luckily, I got one flight. I got every database, which was a flight from Dubai to Calicut, which had an accident. Vande Bharat flight had an accident, Dubai to Calicut, carrying the express number 1344. And they released everybody name, address, passport, age, sex, and I analyzed the data. 44% of them were not migrants. They are spouses, parents, children, and then in-laws to visit them, and then some are undocumented. Of course, we normally don't talk about undocumented because Kuwait has announced amnesty at the time. So, please remember, so I would put that 4.5 million, the students came, they went back again, I know that. So 4.5 million is the official figure of returned migrant, came through the Vande Bharat flight and other flights. But then I would put probably 60 to 70% of them are migrants. So I'm reworking on the return migration, actual phenomena. If you look at that, I would put only not 4.5 million, I would put only 3 million migrants have come back. I'll tell you why I'm telling that a little bit later if I have time permits. Out of the 20 million estimate what I have, I'm putting 3 million people have come back. That means 1 out of 6 people have come back during the COVID-19. 6 immigrants who are holding Indian passport anywhere in the world, 1 has come back. This is for, that means close to 15% of the Indian migrants have returned during COVID-19. Of course, some of them went back. I will come back to that a little later, but officially, they never collect data who is going. That's another problem. Only, I asked the government of India, you have number of 12 lakh people who have come back. Can you tell me who are going after July, August? No, we don't collect. So we have no data, but I'm going to give you some data on that because we don't collect, but we have some information now. So please remember that if you put that 1 out of 6 Indians were returned globally to India. But as I told you in the beginning, 10 millions are in the Gulf countries. So I'm more interested in the Gulf because Gulf is the one, lot of Vande Bharat flight came from Gulf countries. Vande Bharat flight, if you look at the Vande Bharat flight list, it's still available in the MEA website. How many flights? First 24 flight, then 76 flight. You look at them. Most of the flights to Bombay, Delhi, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh were not coming from New York. Some flight came from New York, I know. But most of the flights were coming from the Gulf. And if you put the Gulf with 10 million, which I'm talking about, we have 2 million people who have returned to Gulf. That means out of 5 Indians living in the Gulf, 1 returned during COVID-19. 1, almost 20% of the migrants have returned. I'll come back to that, why the money has not come down. Everybody is asking me now that question, which I will definitely get back when the time comes in. Now, the returned migrants, I said 1 out of 5 people from Gulf have returned during the COVID-19 crisis created by us. One migrant told me in Kerala, I asked him, sir, I have been told to lock down, sit at home. But who will give me money? Who will give me money? I want to work. I have not gone on strike. Lockdown. Lockdown means you said you be at home, but be at home, who will give me salary? I cannot work at home because I am working in the construction site. I am working in the hotel. I am a daytime vendor selling vegetables, or I am a housemaid, go to 3 houses. So lockdown means what? For me, I know anyway I'm going to die. It is better not to die of starvation than COVID-19. Because starvation is, I can fight against starvation, but I cannot fight against something unknown enemy, which is COVID-19. So it's an unknown enemy, but starvation you can see, I feel hungry. People are begging. And we know that Kerala did, open what is called the, common kitchen. People can come and eat. Many places we organized that during COVID-19, first wave, because I was also part of the Kerala government COVID committee to advise them. So one of the things we said was, people hungry, they should come. Nobody should be allowed to live as a hungry person because of the COVID-19, because you told them sit at home and your duty to provide them food. And I told the government not only provide them food, you should also give them some money. Migrants has not come to Kerala to eat food and sleep and go. Their family left behind in Orissa, Rajasthan, they need money. So you have to send them money. We are still talking how to transfer money to them because it's something we did. Why should be they punished for our mistake? We told them sit at home, work at home, but they cannot work at home. But then 3 things that happened to the returned migrant during COVID-19. 3 important impact which should be discussed. One is the stigma. The stigma we created to them. I think this is something many migrants even still crying. the way I was treated in the airport in the Vande Bharat flight in throughout the country. Stigma, when they come there, they are picked up and they are treated, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to use very big words. They were treated as carrier of COVID-19. I think they deserve much better from us. We have treated them like a carrier of COVID-19. Even their house, where people will come and visit, they put the person has come from Dubai, they put a sticker there. In Mumbai, in Chennai, I don't know about Delhi, people put a sticker. Somebody has come from Dubai, be careful, don't go near that. I think you created what is called a stigma. I don't think you can remove that stigma still, because some people are talking about stigma has been created and nobody was in the airport. Nobody was allowed to receive them. After 14 days, they will come out. Of course, some of them had a very tough time. They had mental health issues. There are a lot of issues. I'm not talking about them, but then we have created a stigma for them, carriers of COVID-19. The second one, these returned migrants, when they return normally, they are heroes. They are heroes. When they come to airport from Dubai to Trivandrum, there will be at least 2 cars waiting for them with 13, 14 people come from their villages to pick them up. Like a welcome to India. And these people were made during COVID-19 through Vande Bharat flight. The hero, they become zero. Unwanted. Nobody went to airport. Nobody allowed to go to airport. The hero welcome is lost. They become zero and they become humiliated and they become what is called stigma. The third one, which is also very important, which I talked to many returned migrants. This is the first time in the history of migration, first time in the history of international migration, they have come with empty hands. Normally they come with money, they come with gifts for their friends, relatives, spouse, and even neighbors. This is the first time they came with empty hands. I think this has to be recognized. We have to recognize the fact they came with empty hand and you have created them stigma and you have made them heroes, not heroes, no longer heroes. But please remember, these returned migrants, when you talk about them, they are not same. You cannot treat them equal. I divide the returned migrant into 3 categories. For the policy making in Kerala, which I advise them, I tell the government of India whenever I get a chance to the secretaries, they are belong to 3 categories. One is normal return. Even there would have been no COVID, some people would have come from Dubai, America, UK, they would normally they come. Every year people come, somebody go for studies, they come back, somebody go to work for 5 years, Dubai, they come back. So it's a normal return. That is one group. I put them almost 1/3 of returned migrants are normal return. You don't need to worry about them. They don't need any of your support. When you talk about return migrant policies, they are normal people, normal return. They will go, they will come, they will go. Like people like me, I go, I come. I am not worried about COVID-19. It's okay. Normal return. And then another 1/3 of the Indians who came back, I call them, they returned, but then they will remigrate, return to remigrate, like born to die. Return to remigrate. Why I'm telling that? I got the number from Kerala government to talk to some returned migrants. They said, I came in April, Vande Bharat flight. Now I'm not there, sir. I'm in Dubai. They are back to work. That data we don't have. So return to remigrate. Because my study in Kerala clearly indicates somebody who had spent 20 years in the Gulf, he has spent in almost all the countries. I asked the migration history. He said, 3 years I was in Dubai, 4 years I was in Qatar, 2 years I was in Saudi Arabia, 1 year I was in Kuwait. So they are in all the countries. Because they want to earn money. Whoever gives more, they'll go. One contract, they'll work with one company in Dubai, they'll move. So if they work for longer time, they will remigrate. So remigration is something we have to do on policy measures. The third one, we call them distress return, which is created during COVID-19. Distress return. Distress means somebody had spent 100,000 rupees to go to Gulf in December 2019, and he has not received even a salary. They told no job, you go back. He lost what he had in India. He wanted to earn the money by going to migrate, but he became poor. by migrating. That's what we talk about migration cost. So I think this is something we should look at it very carefully. We call them distress return migrants. And we talk about stranded migrants. Kerala paid the stranded migrant 5,000 rupees to 100,000 people when the COVID was hit, who came back in March and they have visa to go back in April, but there was no flight. They were stranded. Indian Kerala government has given 5,000 rupees in their account. They have to prove they came, they have a visa to go back. And they spent 70 crores. I don't think any state has done. In fact, when the COVID-19 was happening, except the Kerala CM, only the Kerala CM wrote to the PM, please bring the stranded Indians from Gulf. No chief minister wrote to him. Thinks that migration is happening only in Kerala. They are not even bothered about return migrants. Because they are worried about what's happening in India. Nobody even talked about that. Nobody even wrote even a letter to the Prime Minister, except the Kerala Chief Minister wrote to them. Of course, they got some data they can write. And that's why they went to the Supreme Court saying that 5 lakhs people will come back, return migrant, we are ready with 3 lakh beds. So the government said, okay, you are ready with beds, we will bring them. But no other state even talked to the government of India, please bring them. I think that indicates how we treat our migrants. And I think this is something, it's beyond the discussion. Now, finally, what is the policy response by the government? Which is very sad again. Indian government has announced 20 lakh crores, an economic revival package. And it was announced by 4 times, 3 times, my God. They were talking so much about internal migrant, one ration card, ration rice. Not even a single word mentioned about return migrants who were immigrants, contributed $83 billion to this country. Not even a single word in the package announced by Government of India. This is the policy response from us. And then India is talking about immigration bill. In that, not even a single word about return migration. They think they will be there only. Of course, now they know they will come back. I think the policy is being redrafted. Return migration is part of the migration. Return migration, we have to recognize that they will come back, either COVID or not. So you should talk about return migrant rehabilitation, return migrant. So, you have to talk about them. Return migration is not such, it's a big group. And they are vote bank. I told the Kerala government, all the return migrants, you brought them back. If they are going to vote to the same government, they are happy with you. I told the Chief Minister before the elections, if they are happy with you, their vote will affect at least 30 constituencies in Kerala out of 120. If they like your behavior during COVID-19, what they did for you, they believe in you, you are going to come back to power. And he came back to power. 40 years in the political history of India, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. First time, the same party came back to power. And what the opposition told, it is because of COVID-19. COVID-19, the current government, which is basically extension of the last government, did very well to manage, or did very well to provide social security, did very well to provide. So they were being voted to power. So COVID-19 has derailed the opposition party. So that is because of the way COVID-19 was handled in Kerala. That's why the Supreme Court said last 2 weeks back, please learn from Kerala to open common kitchen in Uttar Pradesh. And even in Delhi, they said, because Kerala was talked about by people the wave 1. Wave 2 people don't talk too much about Kerala because wave 2 was too bad. We know that. So return migrants are not in anybody's policy circle. And what we can do, because something we can do very well, India has a big skill mission, Skill India. Everybody talking about Skill India. So Skill India, I think what the Indian government can do, which I think they collected some data, which I know they collected some data on return migrant, their skills. I think you can give them extra skill so that they can re-migrate back. You have to help them to re-migrate, because if India want to utilize their demographic dividend, India cannot give jobs to other people. We are giving the highest unemployment rate today. So if you want to have a job and you have a demographic dividend, you have economic growth is down and COVID has brought, and post-COVID, there will be a large-scale migration from India. Not 20 million. I'm expecting maybe in another 5 years there may be 25 million. There will be large-scale migration from India because we have a demographic dividend. Some countries have demographic, what is called the final stage of demographic transition, like aging population in Europe, for example. So I think India can use this opportunity to retrain them, give them extra skills, so that these people can migrate back as a remigrate, based on that study which is coming out. Finally, I want to say the last word. I think migrants probably lost in the short run, last 2 years. But I am sure at the end, migrants will win, not COVID-19. Migrants definitely will win in the long run, and they will win because I'm telling to many people, I cannot migrate. I can move only within the country. But people who are going to work in Gulf countries, I have been there. It's a very tough condition. They are going to work there. They will go. They will go. So your duty as a government to facilitate them and provide them skills so that they can survive in the near future. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your lucid and detailed insight into what has happened with regard to this migration pattern and the discrimination that many fellow Indians felt. I'm sure that in the audience there would be questions both on your data and your evidence, and also on maybe broader question on the theme of migration and the pandemic, and also in link with with what happened in the first wave, with not only international migrants but also internal migrants moving from the region to the other, in particular from big cities to UP, Bihar, and so on and so forth. So those who are intrepid can unmute themselves to ask questions. I will also notice those who raise hand, as I'm learning this trick also. So I see Christophe Gilmoto and Ayan Mir raising their hands. So I propose that we take their questions first. First, Christophe's question and then Ayan's question. Professor Udayarajan, if you feel like you can answer individually the questions for the first 1 or 2 rounds, and then if we feel that we are running out of time, we can club questions together. Those who feel extremely shy can also drop a line in the chat box, and I will relay the question. I will relay the question to the presenter. So, Christophe, would you like to step in?
Thank you, Jean-Thomas. Thank you, Rajan, for this fantastic presentation. And it's good to know that you're studying something, but not just as a scholar, but also as an activist. And that I know that you stand with the migrants, for the migrants, and that's great to hear. And in fact, I have 2 questions, a very general one, and of course you might have a lot of explanation, but just you might want to summarize, is why is it so that in India, as soon as you migrate within India, or even worse outside, then you lose your status. You're no more recognized and you're treated like a nobody. You've talked about being treated like zeros, but it was true also for urban migrants. All of a sudden, they lose everything. They have no more identity. They have no more registration, no more. So it has been like that for long, even though they bring money back from cities, back from Gulf countries, so they are major earners for Indian economy, but they are treated like that. And there is also one thing, is that they are men. Usually men are treated better, you know, they have higher status, but male migrants are really, I mean, poorly considered. And what you told us about the return migration is another example. Now, a very different question is that you're saying that these guys are bound, I mean, lots of them are bound to re-migrate in the future. They should be trained for that, and they are ready. But don't you think that the market for international migration is likely to change, and that from the demand side of countries like Gulf or other countries, they will also try, like you were saying about Saudi Arabia, they will try to reduce the number of migrants, because migrants also today means it's a source of fear. They bring viruses or God knows what, and especially Indian migrants this year. So don't you think that in the future it might be more difficult, and that the international circulation of migrants will reduce, like all kind of circulation of human beings, not viruses, not goods, not data. This, they keep on circulating, but humans human circulation will be checked. Thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you, Christophe. Before we give it to Ian, I think you have made the first point is very important. I think why the migrants are not when they leave the place, they have no identity, basically. Even they don't exist in the cities. I think that is where I say I'm very glad the COVID came to India. The COVID-19, it's not like migrants problem was not there. COVID-19 exposed the migrant problem. I think that is something which I am very much happy about COVID-19, because it created, everybody was talking about migrants last year, thinking that nothing was happening in Mumbai. We know that slums were there. They have no water. We know that crowding, everything we know. And that the COVID has really exposed the migrants. That is where we think about what is called that's what we think about, integrating migration into development. For example, many cities without the migrant, there is no city. Still, we never recognize them during COVID-19. In Mumbai, Delhi, we have seen what happened to the migrants. They were not, nobody bothered about them. I think that is where we are not recognizing their contribution. I think what we are recognizing, even the Gulf countries, I've been to all the Gulf countries, they always tell me this much millions of rupees going from UAE to your country, Pakistan. They never tell what the migrants are doing. I talk to migrants, I tell them, sir, when we came 50 years back, there was only sand in UAE. Not even a single building. We built Dubai. We built a big city. They are not recognized. We are talking about migrant contribution at the countries of destination. We are not talking about migrant contribution in the countries of destination. We are talking about only origin. This much money comes in there. I think this is something we should look at it, because the migration is not considered as an important thing in the development planning. And this I want to give an example. When Aravind Subramanian took as economic advisor to the Prime Minister first time, he prepared the Indian Economic Survey, and he came to Trivandrum, and he given a talk about the economic survey first year when he prepared. And then he concluded saying that everybody should read the economic survey 1 and 2, the big size report. And then my director told me, now it is opened up, I want Rajan to start the discussion. I told him that this is 2 volumes, 1,800 pages, not even a single word called migrant. And you are a migrant. Our Prime Minister is a migrant from Ahmedabad to Delhi. I am from Tamil Nadu to Kerala. We are all migrants. But you have not written even a single word in the economic survey about migrants. He said, I am no expert, I will do next year. He closed that. I said, I will not read your report. He said, don't read, no problem. I will write on migration in the next economic survey. And then he went back to Delhi, he forgot about migration. Then he wrote the economic survey, and he came to Kochi to present it. And I was supposed to chair the session as a president of the Kerala Economic Association. And not even a single word about migration in the second report. I was so annoyed. I told him, Aravind, you said you will do it. Then he said, before I leave the job, I will do it. Third year, he wrote a chapter on India on the move. And then he took me to his office in the Ministry of Finance. He showed me 10 people are working for me to prepare the chapter. And I went to Delhi. So please remember, to convince him, I took 2 years to have a chapter, and that chapter had so much impact on migration research. You know, we don't have even migration surveys. I think on the database, you know that 2011 census has not even come many migration tables. You know, I don't know what is wrong about that. I don't know. So I think this is something we are doing it, but this COVID-19 exposed us. You can't live without migrants. I think that is. I think now people will learn. Already migration policy is being prepared. New surveys coming up. Government is doing a lot of things for migrants. One ration card, housing for the migrants. Many things are coming back. So I'm glad that something happening. Now the second point about this future of migration, because I still believe, I may be wrong, because I still believe that Indians is going to migrate more in the future, but the route is going to change. This is what my belief. For example, right now, Kerala has 90% of the Kerala migrants are in the Gulf. I'm already telling the government, you have to change the route. Please remember, there are 200 countries. Why the Malayali is going to only Gulf? I told the government, COVID wave 3 has not come. But I told them wave 3, Vande Bharat flight should come from Kenya to Trivandrum, not from Dubai to Trivandrum. So there will be lot of areas. For example, Africa. In Kerala, we are closing engineering colleges. They are going to open in Africa now. People already started moving. I think they are looking for new destinations, new corridor, new migration. The corridor will change. Gulf will come down. Definitely, no doubt about that. But there will be, because we have 200 countries. 200 countries. Please remember to migrate. If as I said earlier, the COVID can go to 200 plus countries without a passport, without a visa. Definitely, I'm sure Indians will go. Thank you.
Ayan, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question to Professor Udayarajan?
Yes, thank you so much, Professor Udayarajan. I apologize for not putting my camera. My internet connection is not great. Thank you so much for such a great and exhaustive presentation. I have just one comment and one question regarding your presentation. The comment refers to some of the discussion that was happening in the chat about the share of remittances as percentage of GDP. And I think, in my opinion, some of the best research on that topic was done by Chinmay Tumbe of IIM in 2011, in which he establishes the need for geographical disaggregation of this question of remittances in India, whereby if you take Kerala's GDP in 2011, Kerala would be third in the percentage of remittances as percentage of GDP, right between Tajikistan and Tonga, and Punjab would be 20th, right? So I think that's a really interesting question to look at specific parts of India rather than the whole country in terms of international emigration. My question regards your presentation and some of the vision of emigration internationally from India that you discuss. It seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, that your perspective is somewhat very optimist about emigration and remittances, because people emigrate and through their remittances they bring back investment, consumption through their remittances. There is knowledge that moves, and balance of payments improves with the foreign exchange reserves that come back to India. Now, I am not familiar with the Kerala example. It seems to me quite an exceptional example, but I'm quite familiar in my research with the example of Punjab, and in particular of Eastern Doab. And there it seems that also what emigration has created is a form of what economists call Dutch disease, right? Where remittances crowd out and misallocate, quote unquote, capital in some way, because the industry of immigration becomes the only industry that's valuable to people. I visited a few months ago a temple in the district of Jalandhar near Pagoda. And that temple is a temple for a Gurdwara, sorry, for visas, and up to 3,000 to 5,000 people visit that every day, young people, educated people, because the only opportunity they have is to go to Canada, to New Zealand, but also to other parts of Europe. And the second example of this Dutch disease, of these negative elements of international immigration beyond the positive aspects that you brought out so well in your presentation, is the fact that so much of immigration from parts of India, in my case, I only know Punjab, so I won't talk about Kerala, is there to promote further immigration. So for example, in some of my fieldwork that I did amongst Punjabi rural workers in the south of Italy, in the regions between Rome and Naples, both those that were migrating from urban Punjab, so coming from service sector jobs, a lot of them were drivers or shopkeepers, they would migrate there, and the money they would send back, the remittances, was to fund further immigration from their families. Now, for those that migrated from rural households, this is from my research, right? So maybe anecdotal, but most of the remittances that went back were there to fund some household consumption, of course, but also to fund the hiring of agricultural workers from the Gangetic Plain that come to Punjab to work during the harvesting season. So in that case, international migration fuels other form of oppressive forms of labor within India itself. So although I very much agree to some extent with your naturalization of migration, saying, we're all migrants, migration is normal as a natural process of development, of course. But at the same time, is the generalization of emigration in India in some parts, can it also be a failure of development? And that a society that is developing in a more sound way, quote unquote, would perhaps offer opportunities for people where they are, rather than, and this, I was talking internationally, but perhaps this is true mainly nationally as well, where we see that, the Gangetic Plain is, the source of so many internal migrants of India is not benefiting as much from the labor of these migrants than other parts of India that are benefiting more. And it may not be a win-win situation for everybody. So that's my question. Sorry for the length.
Thank you. I think let me start with the first question. I think second question is a little bit longer. I will also discuss a little bit longer. I think, you have no data on remittances other than India, because the World Bank has given last week a new estimate of $83 billion. In fact, last year, April, World Bank produced a report saying that the remittances will come down by 25%. I told them you are wrong. It will be only 10%. And there was an article by somebody from World Bank saying that 25%. I wrote article saying that they are wrong. It will be only 10%. They came in September saying that not 25, it will be only 15%. Now they said not even decline, only 1%. So the remittances is, we have only at the country level. There is no state level remittances available by any source. And we were estimated the state level remittances almost 20 years back using some methods. We have published state level estimates. And if you use the state level estimates, the remittances are equivalent to 34% of the Kerala state income. In fact, I was telling to Dilip Ratha, who produced the World Bank remittances report, I told him that you are putting countries. The highest was 31 countries in Moldova. But if you put Kerala, we are number one. But you don't put Kerala because Kerala is not a country, it's a state. So if India is only 4%. So Kerala, I think the remittances are around 36% of the Kerala state domestic product. I think that is something which I just want to tell. And it is true for many states. I'll come back a little bit later on the other point. The second point is I also got some question from Partha. I think when you look at the mix of the gender, I think till we produced the Kerala Migrant Survey in 1998, almost 25 years back, there was no data available in the country on migrants. You have one number from ECR, They'll give you 1 lakh people have left, this many people have left. Not even a gender thing. So the Kerala, we are estimating between 16% officially, but I would put around 20% of the women in Kerala are migrants. We have 20% of the migrants are women. And mostly they are in what is called the nursing, housemaids, and including teachers. Of course, nurses are everywhere. Kerala nurses are known. In fact, I got a call in May from somebody, one of my person called me from London. I didn't know, I saw the number. I didn't know who is the person. He said, I'm recruiting nurses. And can you get me a nurse who cured the person from Italy? Very old man. I saw a man with a nurse. Can I hire a nurse from that Kottayam to London? Then I said, there is no flight now. I can chartered flight can come and pick up the Kerala nurses. Because he thought I am a recruitment agent. I said, no, I am not the agent. I may do the job after my retirement, I told him, because, so much recruitment is happening on nurse migration. So I think this is something, people are interested on recruitment of health professionals, which will continue. And the second point I would like to make is that this Kerala's approach, I think Kerala migration survey we have done in Kerala, we have done in Tamil Nadu, we have done in Punjab. I've been to Punjab to do the survey. We have done in Gujarat. Gujarat, Punjab are a different case altogether because there are more diasporas. If they go, they never come back. Especially Punjab, I have seen. Once they go, that's it. They are ready to sell everything to go to Canada. They will sell everything. They think they already got a ticket to go to heaven when they go to Canada. I think that's why even the embassy, they have a direct flight from Canada and they have a direct flight from direct embassies there to issue visa. So there is a lot of issues between regional wise. And the second point is that how the Kerala treated internal migrants similar to the international migrant. I think this is something Partha has asked before I get back to the, Please remember, Kerala is now exporting immigrants and importing migrants. We are basically an aging state. Out of 6 people in Kerala, we have 1 is an old man. And the TFR is below replacement for quite some time. It's like Europe. So we need people. Our Kerala people are migrating because they are addicted to migration. It's like they're addicted, like a drug addict. What can we do? They're addicted to migration. So I can't stop them. Let them go. If they don't find a job in Dubai, they can go to Africa. So we are equally getting internal migrants. That's why we are telling him, Kerala plumber is in Dubai. We are getting plumber from Orissa. Kerala electrician is in Qatar. We're getting electrician from Uttar Pradesh. So we are getting, because we need them. We call them, in fact, I have called them replacement migration. That's why we call them KEST. Some people are saying it's derogatory word, and I think the government is calling them KEST workers. They are our KEST. That's why we given them food. We given them camps during the last COVID wave 1. So I think we are telling them, if I treat them well, our worker will be treated well in Dubai. It's like, how do you treat your KEST? Same thing you expect the other country to treat. Because the Kerala government can call the Dubai government. Look at it, then they cannot pinpoint to us, how do you treat the workers? We know. No, we don't treat. I think there may be some understanding on this internal, international replacement. We have to look at it. We should look at it theoretically, but I know something is required because Kerala treats reasonably well compared to other states. I cannot say this is the best one, but it has been noted by other people. Now coming back to this Dutch disease issue, when I'm talking today about future migration, I'm not talking about Kerala. India is like European Union. I told the European Union in one of the meetings 10 years back. European Union is what you are doing. You are adding countries. We have added countries long time back. Now we are dividing countries. We are making big states to smaller states. So we are talking about European Union. We are talking about so many states and territories. Even in European Union, there are countries that have large labor force. So India is a very big country with a different demographic transition. So I am talking about Kerala and Tamil Nadu might lose the market. In fact, they should lose because I was telling them Kerala cannot continue to go into Gulf. They have to vacate. They have to vacate. 1980s of Kerala migrants are today 2020s migrants from Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan and Bihar. There's a direct flight by Etihad to Lucknow. No stop. Lucknow to Etihad, fly 2 times. Dubai flying 2 times. So please remember, there are emerging states. We call them demographically bad states, or we call them Bimar, whatever name you call them. They are the one going to be the future migration to Gulf countries because Keralite cannot compete with our neighboring countries like Nepal or Pakistan or Bangladesh. Sorry. So they have to vacate. Who can compete with Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh is Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan. So there is going to be a huge demand. I still believe India has set up 48 skill centers and we have 4 international airport. I told them to close 1 airport. There will be no flights coming in after some time because nobody is going to come back from Dubai. Of course, people come from America to Kerala via Dubai. They will only via Dubai model. So please remember, there will be opening up the north. I think it is going to open up a huge migration. So this Dutch disease, all are fine. I know that because I have seen in Kerala for 50 years. 50 years, I went to some of the houses in North Kerala. The grandfather was a migrant. Son is a migrant. Now his son is in Dubai. 3 generations of migrant. I went to give a talk in Dubai in an engineering college. 48% of them starting there were born in Dubai, the Gulf countries. First generation. They have no passport. They have only Indian passport. They're all studying. That's why I told them their parents migrated. They were born in Dubai and higher studies will be in America and maybe they are dying in Canada. They never come to India. We only claim people of Indian origin. I'm sorry. We are claiming that we have so many people in Dubai. They are not belong to, they never visited Kerala. They can't speak even Malayalam. They are the ones studying in occupying all the higher schools and the educational city in Dubai and Qatar. So things are changing. So I'm sure that I am still confident that migration will continue and migration is going to be what is called, will be accelerated after post-COVID-19. But I use the word acceleration of migration. Of course, health migration will be very great. Of course, health migration will be very great. In fact, we are going to reserve seats for men in the nursing college because the nurses are, men are telling us, sir, we have no reservation. Nursing college, only 100 seats are only for women. We want to study nursing. So we want to even open reservation for men in nursing colleges. Because it's very important because all the nurses are, girls. So please remember it has to going to open up the care economy. And also COVID-19 taught one thing to us, which we realized in Kerala, home care. Why Delhi you got no hospital beds? In Kerala, we are putting home care, and home care is something generated by COVID-19. We have not taken anyone to COVID-19. Even there's a fever, we never landed up in the hospital in Delhi. I talked to many people because the people who are in the hospitals were not all of them required hospitalization. So the home care post-COVID in many countries, who is going to man the home care? Maybe, what is called this, the robot or something like that, but still there is a human touch. I think, I'm sure the migration will continue. We have another 10 minutes.
Wonderful. If you agree, we'll read out the question of Partha Mukhopadhyay that he has left in the chat, and immediately after we will kindly ask Radhika to unmute herself so we can wrap the questions together so that we can tentatively finish this session by 6:30. Professor, so I read his question. Professor Rajan, can you please comment on the gender mix of international migrants, ? As the share of Kerala and Tamil Nadu decline, if so, which states are the new sources? Is the gender mix different across new and old sources state? Is Kerala's approach to internal migrants, similar to international migrants?
No, Thomas, I already answered the question.
Right.
I already answered the question along with Ayan. Now we can ask Radhika to ask question. Radhika is holding the hand.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mahajan, for your very frank insights. Just 2 simple questions. Can you share a bit about Kerala's policy response for return migrants in the context of COVID? And also, you mentioned about probably the routes of migration changing to new destinations. So, do you have some insight of job trends yeah, again in this COVID context, like in the Gulf and also elsewhere, if you would like to share. Thank you.
Thank you. I think one point I missed earlier. I think this Kerala's handling of even during COVID-19, giving them, because many people told me, I had finished a survey. I'm going to give the report to the government very soon, saying that when they came back after the Vande Bharat flight, they were given even free food and free stay, fully funded by the government. And of course, this is something Kerala did, of course. And the second point, which I also want to tell you, in fact, I wrote a few days back. I told that everybody is talking about vaccination, but who need vaccination? It is only the migrants. They have to be prioritized, not my grandmother who is at home. Their grandmother is not coming out. You told her not to come out in March 2020 in Kerala. Above 60, don't come out. They are not coming out. If I only go out and come, I go out and come. So I need vaccination first. So I wrote a long article that you have made them last year, same time you told them they are the carrier of COVID-19. And now it is your moral responsibility to vaccinate them first, not 18 to 44. Not 18 to 44. People are calling me and saying that you are creating tension between the local and other thing. I said, who is local? Migrants should be given priority because you stopped them not to come. You have stopped the train last year. What is your two-way policy? You only told them they are the carrier, man. Then you should vaccinate them first. If you think they are the one carrier, you put them first. You give them Covishield, whatever shield, give them first. You have not done that. And when I wrote that, Tamil Nadu government said immediately they will do that. And now I talked to the Kerala government. Now they have put a special place for vaccination for the interstate migrants from other states. And they have put somebody who can speak Bengali, who can speak Orissa. I think this is the spirit we should work, because I told them, you are telling me local. I told all migrants in India are Indians. Don't tell me all this, you are local and other thing. Migrants are Indians. I am not telling to vaccinate somebody from Dubai who come to Kerala. They are migrants, man. They are from Orissa to Kerala. And you are denying them. And you told them last year. So I think this is where we have to open up the minds of the policymakers. You have to vaccinate. And today Bombay is telling students will be vaccinated. Many students are telling me, international students, I want to go. I have my study, I want to go. Now my country says you bring a certificate. So you said these people should be given, not me. Because I'm 60 plus, I'm comorbid, so what? I think priority should be given, special priority. I think this is something we should do. You should recognize them. And you made them stigma last year, and now you are sitting there and clapping your hands. No. I think this is where you have to play a major role, and Kerala has already set up a camp. Vaccination only for migrants. I think this is where you have to, I think this is something, even I'm not sure they will vaccinate every migrant. At least that the opening up of your hearts for the migrants, because they are Indians. I think that attitude should come. Indians, they have the same Aadhaar card. And you are talking about one ration card, one country. What are you talking about? One nation, one elections. What is this? If you think one nation, one ration card, a fellow cannot vaccinate, a Oriya man cannot vaccinate in my state, I am ashamed of that. I'm ashamed of that. So I have told them, and it is being now replicated every place. They should be vaccinated. I was talking to my son in UK. He's a student. He has been vaccinated. He's only 20. So I am saying that, these people are the carriers. The food man who is bringing my lunch every day afternoon through the vehicle, when I order the food, he should be vaccinated because he visits more people. I think that type of attitude, the role of migrants should come in. And in addition to that, Kerala also offers now, the finance minister has already offered last year, they are going to give some 20 lakh rupees loan for the returned migrant. They want to open up what is called the, entrepreneurship. So I told the government, returned migrants are not entrepreneurs. They need some help. So I think they're setting up now some committee to help them out. Returned migrants are not entrepreneurs. So you give them 30 lakhs, what they will do? Even you tell them, I'll give you 30 lakhs. I think, so something they are talking about to, help them if they want to build up there. Because the returned migrants are coming at the age of 40. They are not very old. They are not retired. Returned migrants are not retired migrants. They are not retired. A man goes to Gulf or a woman goes to Gulf at the age of 25 and comes back in 40. Their life in Gulf is only 10 years. So 40, 43, he only returned. not retired. So I think we have to help him to build his livelihood after some time. So I think they are talking about that. And Kerala is planning for a returned migrant. They are planning for a pension fund now. We have. I think it is going to be a very one. We are already set up a Kerala workers welfare fund for the migrants. And if they join that, they contribute for 10 years after reaching age 50. They can receive pension because I told the government, migrants die earlier than the non-migrants. Migrants die earlier than the non-migrant. So they should be given pension, not at 65, 60. No, they don't leave. They don't leave because they are working in a very hard condition in the 50-degree, and they will come and leave or not. No, I have seen many people, they construct a house, housewarming ceremony, hit a heart attack and die. I have seen people. In the last COVID alone, 2,000 people have died in Gulf. 500 Malayalis were died in the Gulf countries. We are collecting now data on them and give them some distress benefits from the Kerala government. I'm talking to them. So please remember that, they are not going to live longer. So start the pension at age 50. They can receive for a few years because I believe, I may be still wrong, migrants will die earlier than non-migrants who never moves. Thank you.
We have a last minute question from Bruno. You might have seen it in the chat box, but let me read it out. Unless you feel you have addressed it. First question in Kerala: what is the current share of remittances in state GDP, very broadly? 2, you insisted on the contributions of international immigrants to the Indian economy and the need to encourage and boost this immigration, but does it mean that India has failed or is incapable to create its own model of economic development, wealth for its people, and therefore has to copy and or grasp wealth from outside instead of investing in its own model?
Thank you. I think I want to pick up the last question because India has no model. I think my point is that $83 billion is nothing for India, which I know that, because it is equivalent to 4% of the state domestic product. So we are not talking about India model. We are talking about regional model. If the Kerala can benefit by migration, why can't I promote that model to Uttar Pradesh? Why can't I promote the model to other states? Because we are talking about India, like I told about European Union. European Union has 30 countries. So every country has its own model. So India has a big country for them. For the Prime Minister of India, probably 83 billion is nothing. 83 billion is nothing. For Kerala state, the Chief Minister said very clearly, they are the lifeline of the Kerala economy. Lifeline. They are the life. And we have witnessed that during the 2018 floods. When the 2018 floods came to Kerala, probably they said 100 years after 100 years, like we are talking about 100-year COVID-19 after the 1990 we are talking about. Please remember the diaspora and migrants have helped the Kerala to rebuild Kerala we are talking about. So I think we don't need to look at the India model because I don't think India has any model anyway. India cannot solve the problem of unemployment, cannot solve the problem of poverty anyway, but Kerala has reduced the poverty. Kerala can boost the human capital. For example, Kerala is today, Human Development Index, Kerala is #1. Partly because of remittances. That money has been used to put skills on the children. You have third generation migrants. For example, Muslim household in Kerala, you have graduates, which was not there in 1970s when, like when we talk about North, when I came to Trivandrum in 1987, many people told me that North Kerala or Malappuram is like a Bimar in India. No, migration has changed completely. I have seen them in my own eyes. And migration can change. In fact, I'm writing a book on Muslims and migration. See, I don't know what would have happened to Kerala Muslims if there would have been no migration. I have no idea. Out of the 100 migrants from Kerala, 48% of them are Muslims. And they are not in any government jobs. So that, we should look for a new model based on the Kerala database. I think I would advise that maybe some states to look at it And look at also from the errors Kerala made. Because every model has lessons and non-lessons. Non-lessons. I think people should learn from the non-lessons and correct it, and lessons what Kerala can give, we should use it for our policy making. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Professor Rajan, for answering all this question at length. So on that note, I would be more than happy to kindly request everyone to first thank Professor Rajan for his brilliant presentation, and also all those who are interested. Oh, Christoph, you have I know it's an applause. Okay, so you'll have a emoji applause from the crowd. That's we're in 21st century, and I'll take advantage of this to invite all of you for our next session in 15 days, so that we continue to grow the CSH community all through this year. So thank you once again, Professor Rajan, for your thoughts, your very insightful comment and analysis, and I'll invite everyone to rejoin us on Monday in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.